All right, everybody, welcome back. For those that, for Lisa and Wendy, welcome. We are doing a close reading of Larry Kendall's Ninja Selling book, huge book. If you don't know, in the real estate and the sales community, we're going over chapter 7 right now, and this is all about learning to run your brain. It's the name of the chapter, and this is, I think, where we kind of get deeper into the mental programming, the self-talk, and it kind of ties everything back to really everything we've read so far, chapters 1 through 6, dealing with mindset, energy, focus. But it's also about who or what is driving your brain. And the big idea from this chapter was, that hey, most people think that they control their thoughts, they control their brain. But in reality, there is a type of programming, if you will, that is kind of controlling you, directing you. And this chapter kind of introduces that concept and it thinks, has you think about your brain like a computer operating system with basically three components. You have your conscious brain, which is your awareness, and then the subconscious, or excuse me, they said that they don't like the word subconscious. It's non-conscious brain, which is your recorder. That's basically documenting everything. And then that creative non-conscious part of your brain, which is the driver or the voice. And the idea here is that, learning how to run your brain means learning how to program this system in a very intentional and deliberate method. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. The three parts of the brain, I've already said the conscious, non-conscious, and then the creative non-conscious. The conscious brain is where you are right now. This is listening to my voice. It's reading the text. It's the active thinking, the decision making. It's the awareness, that present moment when we're saying, okay, we're here in the now. That's your conscious brain at work. The key idea, though, that Kendall tries to make is that while we maybe recognize that the most, it's the most present up front, it's not actually the most powerful part of our brains. And that's just something to keep in mind. So we have the conscious brain. We also have the non-conscious brain, or that I call it like the flight data recorder. That's kind of the way that I think about it, is that little black box, right? This is the part of your brain that records every single thing that you've ever experienced in life. It stores your beliefs about the world and yourself as well. It holds your identity, and it shapes kind of your automatic behavior, that reaction or reflex, or that snap judgment that you may have. And a lot of this is based off of your previous held beliefs, your experiences. The What's really interesting, though, that we have to be mindful of is it doesn't filter anything. It takes it all in, and it doesn't judge it either. It just simply is a recorder. It records what you repeatedly receive, but also what you tell it as well. And this is why this is why our past experiences shape our identity. It shapes how we feel. Self-talk is important here, either positive or negative. And we're basically feeding that non-conscious brain in the way of just giving it data. And then emotional events, be it positive or negative, trauma events. This can shape your identity, shape your worldview.
Yeah.
And then we have the third part, the creative non-conscious brain. This is the part that executes the program, according to Kendall. It tries to make your behavior match the programming that's stored in that non-conscious part of your brain. So if the programming says, okay, well, I'm not good at sales, your creative brain is going to just automatically believe that that's true, unconsciously. It's just like, okay, well, I'm not good at it. And it's not malicious. It doesn't have a motive. It just is. It just is. And it's consistently going to, it's basically the regurgitation of what you feed it. So we have to be mindful of this. And Kendall talks about, and let me find it here. I think he called it the little voice.
Yep.
I'm looking in the text. Yeah, he talked about the little voice. We all have it, right? And I think the example that he gave was to write down your annual salary, what you want to make, what your income goal is,
Yeah.
and then double it. And then be mindful of what you hear. Do you hear something that says that's not going to happen? That's not going to work. Or I think the examples, that's going to be too hard, or something to that effect. And his argument here is that if that little voice argued with you, well, it's because it's not in your program. It's not reality. It's not reality. That's something that's something that's really important here. And by that, what I mean, it doesn't exist as a capital T truth out there in the world, but is the truth that it is imagined that you create, and that being that, oh, well, I can't do this. But as your programming speaking, that reaction is going to reveal what you are currently programmed to believe, what you feed this program to believe. I like how, and I think he was actually quoting another text. Kendall talked about how your non-conscious brain can't take a joke. It takes everything literally. It doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand humor. So this is important, Kendall says, whenever you are doing self-talk, when you're doing affirmations. Remember, this goes all the way back to our mindset exercises, our
Yeah.
pregame ritual, our morning routines, those affirmations, those repeated thoughts, those, all these things that we do. It assumes, it believes that these are instructions. It's you're writing code, if you will, to program your brain. It's a directive about how your brain is going to think about self and the world. I think that Kendall gave an example of wanting to lose weight. I think he was at like 200 pounds and wanted to be at 175 or something. So he just kept saying like, I weigh 175 pounds. I weigh 175 pounds. I weigh 175 pounds. And at first he kind of runs into like that the part of the brain that doesn't really like, but oh no, I don't. I weigh 200 pounds. That's not right. But in time, his programming began to change. He rewrote the code, so to speak. And then he started doing the things that would support a 175-pound weight goal. He started to, let me find this, started modifying diet and exercise, and over time, lost 30 pounds, he says. So we can literally rewrite this code. Just because you think, feel, act a certain way today doesn't mean that you're locked into that. This is the plasticity of our brains. We can rewire it. We can retune this. We can rewrite that code. And that's the big takeaway here, that if you want to achieve a different result than what you have been so far, change your program, rewrite your code. And this is something that you have to be intentional about, going all the way back to everything that we've covered through, this kind of sums this up. This is the culmination of all of this, of everything from, all the mindset, the affirmations, but you have to do it. Repetition is important. Visualization is important. Those affirmations or whatever it may be. Lisa, not trying to come at you, but it may not be a good idea to grab a sugar-free Red Bull and just YOLO it.
I
This is
have I have to.
this is about, well, I mean that, and and so in some respects, that's part of your ritual, or that's your pregame ritual. But couple that with an effective morning routine
Yes.
that works to rewrite your programming if it needs to be rewritten in a way that brings about positive results.
My
And it's
favorite My favorite Kayla is like, I do my morning affirmations. I'm like, go on, girl, do
Where is
your
that girl,
morning
by the way? She's
affirmation.
always
I
in
love
here.
her. She's like so positive. She's like,
She's yeah.
I am going to. She. trains her brain, and I watch her do it in real time. She's like, it's not if I'm going to do it, it's when I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
I watch her do it, and I love her. I love her so much.
It goes right back to that player versus victim mindset.
Yeah,
And, without going too much into Kayla's history and her own personal business, she has decided to become a player.
that's right. And I see it in her. She's like, I
Mhm.
want to learn, I want to do. This is what I am going to do. She's amazing. She's an amazing human.
That she inspires me. There's been a couple
I
times
know.
that
I'm like, I want to wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to say my affirmations. And I'm like, wake up in the morning, give me a second, let me pop 2 pills and a Red Bull, and then I'll deal with you.
well, and that's a really interesting kind of part of this, and kind of moving, maybe bringing back in this idea of our quadrants and being in a positive state. Your environment can impact that as well. And Kayla is one of those people that I have worked to bring value to, and then in return, she accidentally brought a lot of value to me because she is that positivity. She has such a great
Perfect.
vibe.
Yes. You love being around people like that.
Mhm.
That it's exhausting because I come across a lot of them, and I end up being the positive, and it's so refreshing to come into a room with somebody like her that just you're like, all right, I'm hanging on to your tail today instead of having to be the leader in
Mhm.
the positivity. I'm gonna hang on to your tail, and I'm gonna like it's she's refreshing.
Cheers. I just saw Wendy unmute. She's been over there hiding, so I imagine, do you have something you want to add here,
No,
Wendy?
no, I'm here. I agree with everything I was saying about Kayla because remember when I wrote with you, Jeremy?
Oh, that she
And she,
called. Yeah.
I was like, that is so refreshing to know, especially when she said, I am so glad I met you guys
Mhm.
or connected with you.
Yeah.
So that was like reassuring for me. I was like, okay, I'm in good hands.
It's
She
really
is
cool to find your
great. Oh
tribe,
my
right?
gosh. I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So going back to this, the idea of programming your brain. Remember, this is something that it's intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. It's that repetition. It is the visualization. It's a belief, and sometimes, it's the self-talk. And I'm not gonna say you fake it till you make it, but it is about reinforcement of positivity,
Yeah.
and also your environment, which we actually were just kind of talking about a little bit with Kayla on accident. And all of this, like I said, comes together. It ties in the morning routines, the affirmations, the visualization, the gratitude. Remember, start with gratitude and
Always with
focus.
gratitude.
And
Yeah.
focus. What you focus on expands.
Yeah.
These are all programming tools. And this is, and what, we didn't know until now, and what Kindle was giving us were these tools to reprogram this part of our brain. So let's bring it home to real estate. Why does this matter for real estate, and how can, let's talk, maybe ask, it's always easy to identify the negative. Uh, how could a negative type of programming, or a programming that has a victim mindset, impact what it is that we do day to day in real estate? Maybe we'll start there. I'm literally asking. Maybe I need to reframe
Oh,
the
I
question.
was like, I would think you have to today, I am going to reach out to this many people, and out of this many people, I'm going to get a listing today. I'm going to get a sale today. I'm going to find a buyer today. I'm going to do it.
It starts with that positivity, right? That affirmation, that positive speak. It's really funny you say that, and I remember you took me back like years ago. I don't know how many years ago it was, and I think it was my first year as a real estate professional, and I'm going through it. I'm figuring it out. I don't know. I'm still like trying to like figure out how this game is played, and I'm it's a Tuesday morning or something, and I'm getting the kids ready for school, and I have kind of like a lull while the kids are brushing their teeth or whatever. And I go down there and I get my coffee, and I remember being at like on the island in my kitchen, and I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go get a listing today.
Right.
And here's what's funny. I did.
That's
I
right.
did. I straight up did. And so I came home and I was like, you're not gonna believe this. And she was like, what? And I was like, I got a listing. And she was like, well, that's kind of hot that you were just straight up like, I'm gonna get a listing today, and you went and did that, you know? And she was like, damn, that's sexy, you know? And I'm just, but it was, and I forgot all about that, Lisa, until you said that. But no, that literally happened to me where I was just like, that's it, man. Like, I'm just gonna go get a listing today. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I got a few ideas, but damn it, I'm gonna put it together. And it
there's
happened. It was
there's one
resolved.
thing that like I know, and my girls get on me because I go, today I'm going to finish this.
Hmm.
It could be whatever it is that I'm doing.
Hmm.
I am going to do this.
Hmm.
And they'll be like, Mom, you have like 5 million things to do. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And at the
Sometimes it
end
takes
of the
that.
day, when I do it, they're like, oh shit, she actually did it.
So some other things that kind of, the idea of, how this negative programming might manifest in real estate. Um, you'll hear agents say this all the time. Oh, the market is terrible.
Yeah, no,
People don't really want to buy, or they're wasting my time, which, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a side rant on that. Nobody's taking your time, you're giving it to them,
correct,
so you have to guard yourself.
correct.
Or maybe they'll get into some negative self-talk. They'll say, I'm just not good at prospecting, or I'm not good at X. Fill it in, door knocking, at phone calls, at whatever it may be, you know?
But isn't that also like what the book says is you have to talk to yourself and tell you to yourself how
Right.
good you are at things.
Right. So instead of saying I'm not good at prospecting, we can flip it on its head and reprogram it and say, I am good at prospecting. I
I'm
am good
good
at
at this.
prospecting.
I'm good at talking to people. I
Mhm.
love people. It's a lie, but I love everyone. Hmm.
Well, that's the whole idea here, is that you can reprogram it until it becomes truth.
Yeah.
And that's
And
the
I think, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go please.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. But I think that when you have that victim attitude or mentality or that negativity, people can sense it and they don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
So,
1,000% right. And that's one of the, I think it was what, chapter one, even or two, somewhere in
yeah,
there, where
I got
Kendall,
through
like,
chapter one.
yeah, yeah, Kendall talks about that. You're giving off a vibe, you're giving off some energy,
Yeah.
and people feel that.
Yeah.
And the inverse is true as well. If you're giving off positivity, and you know, and this comes about by what happens in private, by what happens when you are with the one person that knows you better than anybody else on the planet, and that is self, because you know all of your worst secrets, you know all of your greatest fears, but you also know your greatest accomplishments, and that the things that nobody else does. You see yourself working hard when nobody else does. And so give yourself that credit and reward yourself in the way of positive affirmations, in the way of positive self-talk, because you owe it to your brain to reprogram yourself. You owe it
Right.
to your life to do this.
Yeah. It's true.
So
Preach.
the idea here is that when you do this, when you reprogram your brain, it's going to produce a predictable behavior. And that's a player mindset. And you're going to be playing the game and you're going to be winning. It produces a predictable results. And when you change that program, you change the outcome, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
What do you think that
Preach.
what type of program do you think most agents are just running around right now in this market? Like what kind of stuff are they running?
What do you mean? Like
I'm
how
talking
they
about the
feel about
program that in
themselves?
their brain.
Oh no, they're very sad right now.
Percent.
Oh no, that's not true. Not all agents, but if you put me in a room with a couple of them, I can tell you which ones are.
Hmm. You got a couple players out there, right?
Yeah, I've got a. There's a couple people out
Mhm.
there that I'm like, ooh, you let her in the right environment, or you let him in the right environment, he'll eat up everything. I love it.
What is so, and maybe another thing to ask would be if there's, and maybe, maybe this is just to think about, to ponder. Maybe you don't want to necessarily share it, but if there is, and kind of sticking with the idea of programming and coding and that type of language, think about if there's one program that you could install into your brain, what would that be? What
Self
is
care,
it that, well, oh, go ahead.
self care.
That's big. Break that down.
I think I'm so busy trying to make because a lot of things that I do so because I have an emotional thing where I want my girls to be proud of me. I
Mhm.
want to be a I want to be somebody that they look and say, well, my mom works hard. My mom is successful.
Hmm.
My mom can do anything. And it's important to me. But in doing that, sometimes I neglect self-care. I neglect mental health. I neglect physical health. I do things that, well, obviously I jumped off the back of a truck, and messed myself up. So now I'm going to be down even longer, but
Right.
that's still not going to stop me. It's mostly it's self-care. And so I get in the morning the quiet times, the affirmations, the things that I'm going to do. I have a drive, I have a goal, I know what I want. I have a specific want. I have a goal and I'm gonna reach it this year. I will reach it.
Hmm.
Um, but in doing that, I neglect myself. I don't.
That's a big idea here, and it's something that a lot of people do, and nobody's immune to this, myself or anybody, but this idea where we tie our self-worth or value to that which others, how they think of us, or
Yeah,
their opinion of us. And just imagine what doors would open up if we found a way to transcend that.
I know, and I literally only care about three people in the world. So I mean,
Right. Well, and and that's for sure, and that's a great way to look at it. And I kind of I say a similar thing where I really am only interested in the opinions of just a few people,
yes,
and beyond that, who cares?
yeah,
And so, and now the fact that we are talking about you, of course, you want to be held in a positive place by your children. That's great. You know,
yeah.
uh, I'm confident that they look at you and they see an amazing woman, by the way, Lisa. So.
But I have pretty thick skin. I remember that was a conversation we had with all the stuff at the door knocking, and that you got to have thick skin, and that comes with just knowing who you are, what you're doing, what your goals are, and you go out there and really don't care about anything anybody else says.
I mean, you
And
you do.
you have given me, like, because you're like, I don't care. I will blow up their phone until they cuss me out. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not to say, like I want to make sure I provide a little context in case somebody sees that statement for the first time. I don't, don't hammer call somebody back to back, but also, if I put somebody on a drip campaign or yeah, or yeah, if I'm I think what you may be referring to is I said that I for a period of time I would not allow myself to stop door knocking until I got cussed out by somebody. And I mean, okay, I've door knocked enough. But no, persistency is important when it comes to this, and consistency as well. Whenever you're working with somebody. Let's ask maybe a different question if you want to share, and this could be for real estate or really anything. And when we're talking about kind of reprogramming our brains, what is a belief or a programming that you had maybe early in your career or early in your life that turned out to be incorrect? It was this previously held idea that you programmed into your brain that turned out to be just inherently false. Can you think of anything? I'll give you one
Mm,
for me. I'll give you one. I was influenced by somebody pretty early on whenever I got into real estate that taught me as if it were a fact, as if it were a law almost of physics, that in order for me to have one closing, then I needed to have X number contracts. In order for me to have X number contracts, I needed to have X number representation agreements. In order to have X number representation agreements, I needed to have X number, consultations, and then it just scaled, right? And so then the idea here is, and it continues to, either two, five, or tenfold, whatever the formula may be. And so then, the idea here is that this gentleman said, okay, so bottom line, you need to talk to 50 people a day in order to get X number of phone calls, X number of appointments, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And I believe that to be a like as if it was a like a law of thermodynamics or something, as if it was something that were just, proven empirically time and time again. And I will concede that there is some truth to this. You have to prospect, you have to get out there, you have to get eyes and on you. You have to have the conversations. However, the numbers can look very, very different. And by that, what I mean is just because he has to talk to 10,000 people a year doesn't mean that I have to. What I could do using a ninja selling method or something similar to this is have less conversations that are more meaningful and more substantive in their dialogue and more caring and more genuine and authentic, and I can raise my conversion rate. I don't have to talk to 10,000 people. I have to embrace 100 people. And I would argue that I will probably have a better model than this gentleman gave me as if it were, this set in stone, because that's exhausting running around talking to 50
mhm.
people a day.
That's also churn and
It's
burn.
churn and burn. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also another good
And
thing
you end
about it.
up being the one getting burned. So
Yeah,
if
that's a
you
good way
make
to
your
put it. Churn and
contacts,
burn burns you.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good way to kind of like think about it. Meanwhile, all I'm doing is at a soccer game with my kid, and I'm just talking to somebody about what they need.
yeah,
And it's about building those genuine relationships, writing that note,
correct.
that we talked about in our daily routines.
I missed the sales meeting yesterday, but something that Greg told us was one of the things in the first couple sales meeting was listen, you find a need or you try to help somebody, you're gonna get the sale or
Hmm.
something to that effect.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, that's pretty true because then they come to you if they're trying to sell their house. They come to you if they know somebody. They mention you. So then they end up doing the prospecting kind of for
No,
you.
you're absolutely right. And if you just look to and you put your focus on bringing value to people, that is going to return back tenfold. It's the Buffini idea that if you give out slices of bread, you're going to receive loaves in
Loaves. Yeah.
return. There, and in fact, what's funny is I'm listing a house. We're looking at the first of next month, and I met this woman because she was in a Facebook group years ago and said something about her property tax assessment.
Hmm.
And how do I do this? What do I do? And I reached out to her. I said, "Oh, I can help you with this." So I helped her. I built a CMA. I helped her build the data to protest her taxes. She messaged me back, Jeremy, this is awesome. Thank you so much. I took this and I protested my taxes. I was able to get my taxes reduced by X number of dollars or whatever it may be. Well, I'm listing her home after years of bringing her value and just I just help her protest her taxes once a year. We've become friends. I have thrown work her way. She is a cleaner. I have rental properties. It works. I have people that I know that need cleanings. I've said her name. And now, whenever anybody, I get tagged by her all the time on social media. But when, hey, anybody looking needing a realtor, boom, she's got me. She's saying my name. So here we have this idea that all I have to do is try to bring value, and then
Yeah.
that's going to come back to you. So, but that was one belief that I had early on that it turns out, that was wrong. Respect to that individual. They are uh, successful in their own right. However, that's not, so I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong. So that's something that I had, a previously held belief, and I had to reprogram that.
Mm. You have to program yourself some way. I have to do it every minute, but I mean, because it's constant in my head. It's a
Mhm.
constant thing that's going in my head. What am I doing today? What is my end goal? What is my end game? And when it gets too overwhelming to me, I just focus on the day.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Kendall would call that little voice that's saying that, oh, I'm, whatever it may be, you know.
Yeah. That's that little voice. When I read that, I was like, okay, okay, okay.
What questions do you guys have about chapter 7? I know we've kind of covered a lot here, and it's, a pretty simple concept all in all, but also profound.
We haven't heard from Wendy. Wendy's like, leave me alone.
Well,
It's like,
I haven't made it to chapter 7 yet, so
She's just co-signing and everything. Yeah, sounds great.
yeah, so I'm listening to everything you guys are saying, and it's good information. It really is. And when you talk about the value that you bring, um, talking to a few people versus 10,000 people, I think
yeah,
the quality of the conversation, the value that you bring to the conversation versus so many numbers, just trying to, talk to as
Right.
many people as you can and not really bringing value. Um, but this is good. It's good. I'm anxious to read more.
Yeah, it's a
turn
really
to
good book.
burn,
Haven't
turn
had a
to
chance.
burn.
This is probably my second or third reading of it, and this is actually really enjoyable for me to kind of go through it in a really slow pace like this and kind of break these things down.
Right.
So, well, if you
Next
guys,
week, Ash will be here.
oh, next week, okay, great,
Yeah, next
great.
week Ash will be
I'm
here.
probably going to open this up so we get more discussion in the room. I do want to go ahead and I had I took all this and I wrote down. I don't know, maybe leave you with a closing thought or a closing question. Uh, and so I wrote this down. I want to ask you guys if your current results are a reflection of your current programming, what programming would you need to change to get to the next level of results? If your current results are a reflection of your current programming, what program would you need to change to get to the next level of results? You don't necessarily need to answer that question, but maybe take that with you throughout the day and chew on it. What program do you need to change to get to the next level of results where you want to be? And that's
I
with everything.
can't change anything until next year, Jeremy. Sorry.
You're a fool.
Sorry, guys.
All
I'll
right,
be
so
I'll be quiet next week. I'll let Ashley ask all the questions.
thank you guys so much for showing up for yourself. I hope that you got value out of this, and we're gonna go ahead and